Good afternoon and welcome finally to Mind Tripping with Michelle. I'm your host, Michelle Melio, where you can explore the abilities and inabilities of your subconscious mind and learn how to shift your personal energy and finally release those blocks that keep you from having what you want in life. I'm your host again, Michelle Melio, and today is Monday, March 30th, 2015. I have with me here today my co-host Robin, and Robin Cragen is a good friend, and she is also a fellow psychic, and she is joining me here today. Hi, Robin. How are you?
Good. How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing fantastic. Things are finally starting to fall into place with our studio. I wanted to let you know that probably over the next few weeks, I'm going to have a different background each week. So maybe we can have like a little contest where people can check the backgrounds and see which one they like the best.
Sounds good.
So what have you been up to? I've been crazy busy in a good way. How about you?
Oh yeah, staying busy, doing lots of readings and just getting some classes and workshops set up, tech sessions. It's been nonstop for the last little while, so it's been good.
That's awesome. And you know, we were talking about that earlier. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have some video classes or some audio classes available for our viewers to go ahead and check out and download. So that's real exciting. And what do you have coming up? You have a essential oils class. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm doing a couple of tech sessions on home parties with essential oils with young living. And I'm really excited about that because they want to focus on one certain aspect of it. The first one is a group of new mommies that want to know a healthier way to care for their children or their brand new babies. So I'm doing a home party with all new mommies. So it should be really fun.
That's so cool. So you're doing a home party over Skype.
Yeah.
Ah, don't you love it? Hmm? What was that?
It's totally different than what I normally do. So I kind of leave it up to the host of the party. The host of the party is actually really going to have to work. So I'm excited.
That is so cool. And with modern technology, you're on Skype now. They have all kinds of programs. I use Roku. I have Roku, and it hooks into my TV and my internet, and I can watch my internet on my flat screen, on my big screen. So you might be on the big screen at your hostess's house. How do you feel about that?
That would be awesome.
This is Robin coming to you.
Figure out how to do that one.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be really cool. So awesome, awesome. I too have been working on my Mind Trip Academy. So that should be, I don't plan to launch that. I do plan to keep posted because I do plan to have some classes available at discounted rates and maybe even some freebies while I test the waters with it for the Mind Trip Academy before I go live with the website and live with the new academy. But the new academy won't be actually available for students until my move to North Carolina. So, but that's some interesting stuff too.
That's great. I'm glad you're getting that finalized and ready for action.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I'm glad for you too. And I think our hard work will be paying off, and you can see a lot of awesome things from us in the spring. And I just want to say that I'm really, really excited about today's guest because we have a guest on hold, and her name is Veronica Cuyugan. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I want to say it's Veronica Cuyugan, but we can ask her.
Okay, yeah, we'll ask her in a minute. So Veronica Cuyugan, she is a Florida-based life coach who specializes in creating programs for clients to bliss out while they break through. I love that, bliss out. And at the age of 26, Veronica pursued the growth of her first wellness consultation company, FittLife Enterprises, LLC, with two of her best friends. When the business failed, and I think it, and not that it's awesome that it failed, but I personally think that, you know, what somebody that has tried a business out and then has, I don't want to say failed, but has explored all their options, there's a lot of lessons in there. I think that it makes a stronger person for the next business. And it looks like she did the same, because she returned to her passion of writing and began contributing to several online publications. She also earned her certification in nutrition and wellness consulting with the American Fitness Professionals and Associates. In 2013, she began her second business venture, the Blissification Company, LLC. With a desire to show the world that their bliss exists in each moment it is chosen, Veronica has grown to love being of high service to her readers and clients. When Veronica is not writing, coaching, or creating programs, she spends her free time running and practicing yoga, and reading and spending times with her dog surrounding her, or savoring every moment with the love of her life. It is her mission to remind you that beyond any circumstance you may find, your function is bliss. Hi, Veronica. Welcome to Mind Tripping with Michelle. How are you doing today?
Hello, ladies. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm getting quite good at it. And you, wow, what accomplishments. And I didn't mean to spend too much time focusing on your field of business, but I don't consider it a failure, you know?
Absolutely not. I actually have I can't remember if it's a chapter. I think it's a chapter or a subchapter in my book that is called Failure is Your Friend, or Failure is Necessary. That's one of my favorite chapters.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it is. It's one of your favorite chapters, Robin?
Yes, when I read the book, I thought, I went through it, and all of the self-help books that I get, I take a highlighter with me. So anything that I come across that I want to be able to reference later or remember and want to go back and read it again quickly or find a reference, I would highlight everything. So I think that chapter has a lot of highlighting in it. I get a lot of that. It was one of my favorite chapters in the book. Good. I'm so happy you liked it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think a lot of people were programmed to think that a failure is a failure. And I love when people highlight that it is more of a learning experience for us.
Absolutely. I think it started in elementary school, right? We all had a test, right? That stands for failure. And if you get an F, that's the end game for you, for your semester, whatever, however your academic year is broken down. But I think as we go up, not to call anybody out, but have you heard of the Kindle Fire, the Amazon Fire Phone? That was a huge mistake, and I think that it was learned from. So even on a small scale, oh gosh, an Internet Explorer. Have you ever heard about that? How their Windows is scrapping Internet Explorer because they just couldn't keep up with the development of all of the other search engines. But I think failure is to be celebrated, but it's definitely not supposed to be bad work.
Right. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. No, absolutely not.
cool. So you've written, so we're talking about your book. So those who are following along or watching on YouTube or Google Plus, Veronica has written a book. And this book is absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful resource, as well as, I feel like it's an easy read, and I feel like it's very educational too. It's almost like I found that I will want to read things over again just to, you just find so much more, even with the second read through. You find a lot of information, and thank you for that. And so your book, in this book, you've written about being of high service. And what do you mean by that, Veronica? I'd love for you to share with my listeners and viewers what exactly you mean by that statement.
In becoming an ombudsman, my main function was to be able to serve people, because I believe that every person who's placed on this planet has a service. It has to serve the purpose. And until we figure out what that purpose is, I think that's where a lot of this work in life happens, right? Even when I sit around Robin, who I think of highly, because it's not only because he officiated my wedding, but when I first met her, you get that energetic impression about people, and people who operate within their purpose vibrate at a higher energy than people who are still searching, of people who are unsure, of people who are fearful of taking that step for themselves. And I believe that in my serving people, in my case, I teach people how to become their happiest, most fulfilled self. And by doing that, I feel like I inspire people, or at least I make them courageous enough, or help them see what it's like to figure out what their thing is, and for them to pursue it. It's like a domino effect, except the opposite, because instead of knocking people down, you elevate them.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of people have breakthrough moments when they actually, realize what their thing is?
Absolutely. It's like watching a light bulb go off over someone's head. And that when they figure that out, that's when they really realize, what they bring to the table. It's not what their teachers told them about themselves. It's not what their parents taught them about themselves. It's just them figuring out, this is what I'm here for. And when a person does that, first of all, you don't work a day in your life. You know what I mean? I put in 18-hour days to coach and to write and to contribute to publications and such, or to post people for free, and I don't even feel it. I'm not exhausted at night. And this whole job, you're conditioned to get a job, which is important. You have to earn a living. But when you figure out what your purpose is, and that becomes your life work, I think that does so much more for you as a person and for everybody who your work touches.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense to me. You're a life coach. You said you're a life coach.
I am.
What's the best part about being a life coach?
My favorite part of being a life coach is, and this sounds crass, but when my client doesn't need me anymore, or when I do the quarterly progress report with them, and they carry through with what it is they hired me to become, because it's small shit. It's I've helped clients work through everything from changing the way they think, because a lot of unhappy people think about their lives in terms of in a cycle, right? This is what I think every day, or I wake up and I do the same thing, and I'm not worthy of trying something else. And it's cliche, but once you change your mind, you change your life. And I think that creating that mental shift in somebody and watching them, in effect, change their lives because of that shift, it's so rewarding. And I adore my clients, and they teach me way more than I could ever teach them. So it's the whole process is rewarding for me, and I absolutely can't imagine doing anything else.
That's so cool. I love that your favorite thing about life coaching is pretty much when the job is done, but in a good way for you.
Absolutely. I love seeing people grow into their own potential, which, in my opinion, is unlimited. Every single person has unlimited potential, and they just have to explore that.
I noticed a lot of life coaching techniques just kind of sprinkled with it throughout your book. you know? And I think it's really great that they're there because it's just such a powerful tool, don't you think? That and it's so simple, but at the same time, it's a real powerful tool for people.
Oh, absolutely. I think that I think that school should be taught in school from elementary school up until college. And the way people operate within their lives and how they think their lives should be when they're at work and what they want and what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes with so much anxiety and dependence on things that you don't need, like substance abuse and all these other things, and it's all connected. And I'm actually working on my holistic life coaching certification right now, and as I go deeper, I'm learning all of these different, how a person as a whole, from what we eat and, how much we work our bodies or move our bodies, that all, but of course that also contributes to health, but good for our health, but mentally and emotionally, it's astounding how a small shift can absolutely change somebody's life.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I'm feeling the Bliss Academy maybe coming our way in the next couple of years, maybe. Your own school. The Bliss Academy, your own school.
I'm as you see that putting together a do-it-yourself coaching program. So, there are people who would rather go through the coaching process in their own to do better in the comfort of their solace.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that. So I'm putting together this 5-module coaching program that's going to launch in the summertime. And I want to teach people how to, things that are referenced in the book, the tools that I give them. It's just a concentrated, sort of enhanced version of that. And hopefully it serves people because the shifts that people can make in their lives to just look happier,
Mm-hmm.
or to look with less fear and more courage. It's just, I'm all about that.
How easy is it to live blissfully? I mean, is it really that easy?
To live blissfully?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Ah.
It's one of the most difficult, especially when you come from a negative mindset, right? People who think negatively, they're stuck until they decide one day that they don't want to be there anymore. Believe it or not, at one point I was one of the angriest, most negative people I knew.
I can't.
I went for months without laughing, as I wrote in the book. And one day I thought there's got to be more to life than this, and it took me years to create this sort of thought pattern that served me. And until that point, it was all toxic. I was that toxic friend, and I was that toxic girlfriend who really just wanted to be with the guy, but didn't want to be with him out of fear. And fear was the one thing in my life that ran it up until I decided, it has to get better. Because if it doesn't get better, then what's this like work?
Do you think that was like a rock bottom for you when you were feeling that way?
Absolutely, but rock bottom has 30 months to jump, right? It's
Yeah.
very safe to build stuff.
Yep.
And I think it's healthy to hit rock bottom. Some people get bruised and have mixed and cuts on them from it emotionally and mentally, but until you reach what that limitation, what that limit you have is, then you can start exploring your potential. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
You know how low you can take the flow. So then you start to elevate, and you do what you have to do the mind body work and meditation and speak to a spiritual leader if you have to. I'll never forget one of the most memorable turning points in my life was when I went to one of the biggest malls in Orlando where I grew up. And this lady out of nowhere started talking to me and telling me about how he knew that I was writing a book, and I was literally in the first few lines of writing was Kill Me Your Own Way, which I didn't even know was going to be a book yet.
Wow.
And he said, you're a writer, you're writing a book, and you're going to reach thousands, if not millions of people. And he also said that I know that you're lonely now, which I sort of was. I still want to admit it myself. And she also said that you're lonely now, but the man who is going to be the man in your life is far away, and he will be reunited again. And I was thinking to myself, who is this woman? And she ended up handing me a card, and she was an intuitive. Well, this is in 2009, so 6 years later, I have a book out, I'm a life coach, I've reached thousands of people with my writing, and the man in my life, which you're talking about, is actually my husband, because he is my best friend's cousin. I met him when we were teenagers, and he lived in Michigan, and I lived in Orlando. He joined the Air Force, which I had no idea about. Fast forward 10 years, we met at my best friend's wedding and started dating then.
Wow.
So, messengers are everywhere, and I think that people who are at a low point or who are just seeking guidance should remain open and hopeful, because messengers will be sent to them.
Now, I have a question for you. Since you had that whole parallel thing going on with your husband, do you think that you may have met earlier had you been able to find your bliss earlier, like before that point? Do you think that you were only able to recognize him once you had found that space?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To be honest, I had no desire to be in a meaningful relationship that way, because I'd been, like most of us, I'd been so hurt before. And he was one of those things where one night in July of 2012, I remember, because I was letting my mom's dogs out, I looked up and I just sort of whispered, if I'm meant to feel what being in love is, I think I'm ready. And believe it or not, the wedding was in August.
Wow.
I had been doing a lot of intentional spiritual growing, because people can grow intentionally or subconsciously, but when you just sort of open up and surrender and allow the universe to show you what it has in store for you, that's when the most beautiful things happen. So I don't believe that I would have recognized Pete if I hadn't gone through all of the growing and the inner work that I went through. And I have tons of female friends who are approaching their 30s, and they're all freaking out because they're single and they're not married and all this stuff. And it's like, look, just focus on what makes you happy. Focus on what fulfills you now. And when you turn into that person, I think I read a quote recently. I can't remember who to attribute it to, but it says, when the soul is ready, the mate appears. And it's so true.
Yeah, I believe in that too. Robin, are you still in there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm just listening to everything.
Feel free if you have any questions for Veronica. I know Robin has had the opportunity to actually meet Veronica in person. I'm a little jealous. I'm hoping maybe I get to meet you someday, Veronica.
Oh, me too. Well, I just have to say that Veronica is one of those people that walked into my place of business in Florida and just totally was someone I could connect to right off the bat, which in a lot of cases, I'm going all over the place, but when somebody has what we call as a reader as a bright light, you draw other people to you, the good, the bad, the ugly. Veronica is one of those good people that just could really got me. We got each other. It was one of those mutual friendships, and we knew nothing about each other. It was really refreshing to know something about somebody and not have to go in too deep about it, because it was just nice, a really good feeling to have somebody like that in your presence. And so, after meeting Veronica, and she was telling me her book wasn't even out yet. So, it was just one of those things. I didn't have to. All I wanted was one of the books, and I was trying to help her so badly, trying to help her get it to the right people so that it would get into the right hands and into the right bookstores and that kind of thing. But I'm sure she's working it all out on her own, and it's one of those things that we help people as a reader. And I think part of what the failure chapter in your book helped me with is that as a reader, doing readings for people, and they come in down and depressed and feeling bad about themselves, they already feel like a failure. So some of the writing that you put in your book, I now have memorized and highlighted in the book also, so that I can reference back to them and give them a little bit more than what I'm able to come up with. So I thank you for that. Oh, goodness. It's taking everything for me not to cry right now.
I know. Wow. That's amazing. Your book is being used as a reference for the healers, readers. It's a wonderful tool.
It's humbling. It's incredibly humbling, and I thank you ladies so much for the kind words. I'm working on the second edition of it now.
Yay.
So I'll be sure to get those into your hot little hands when it's
Thank you.
It's an expanded version of the first, and I can't wait for it to be released. It's coming out in the late summer, so
wow. I have to ask you.
I'm excited. I can't wait for the next book.
I know, that's like amazing. Like you can't. So is it like the advanced mode?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is it like the advanced? Is it like super bliss, supernova bliss?
It's an expanded version of what exists now, and the first printing is actually limited first edition, and the second edition is called Become Your Own Bliss, 111 Ways to Blissify Your Life. And this is the first time I'm announcing the title of the second edition hardback version anywhere, so I'm really excited about it.
Yay, well, you heard it here. Pre-congratulations. Let's talk about your book now, though. What is the one thing that you want readers to take away from Become Your Own Bliss? What's the one thing?
I want
I know.
One thing. Oh goodness. I want them to focus on being present in their lives, whether they're in a situation that is undesirable. Just sit with it and acknowledge it, and to forgive the situation and begin to release it, because it's easy to bliss out when you're in paradise, right?
Yeah.
If you're by the beach and life is hunky-dory, it's so easy to be happy or to bliss out when things are going exactly how you want them to, but that's not real life. And when the trials and tribulations come and you choose to find the lessons in it while it's happening, I think that's when you, first of all, that's when you learn where your power lies, and you can choose to see this small flicker of light, which I believe is joy, instead of wallowing in the darkness. And I think that life is difficult. I mean, struggle is a human condition that we all have in common, right? Everybody is struggling in some way or another, and I think that when a person just decides that that's not who they are, that there are so much more than that, then they can begin to heal and live the life that they've always wanted.
That's so
I hope
nice.
that people will get that in the book.
I do too. And, I'm glad that that's really the one thing that you'd like your readers to take away. And I gotta admit that, this happens to me occasionally, and I find myself having to reel myself back in. And I'm sure it happens with a lot of people that are listening and watching today, and maybe even people that are listening and watching later. Is that, that really is. It sounds all well and fine. It sounds like a really good. And I know, spoiler alert, you can find out more how to do this by reading the book. But I just was wondering if maybe you could give away one little tip, because I find, like, when you're in that spiral, when oh my gosh, this is happening in my life, it really is a challenge to be present. Do you have a tip that perhaps my listeners and viewers might use to kind of help reel themselves back in and be in that moment when they find themselves spiraling?
Absolutely. There's one very important lesson that I actually learned from my mother, whom I mentioned throughout my book, and that is when you are facing a negative experience or a difficult experience, because difficult experiences don't always have to be negative. They can be preceding something awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in it, for example, when I went through a terrible breakup, I was crying for weeks, and I was crying for weeks. And my mom essentially told me, and this is what I also tell my clients, so thanks, Mom. I say, give yourself a period of time to feel what you want to feel about it, because we can choose our feelings, right? We can choose our emotions, we can choose our thoughts. So go ahead and feel what you want to about this particular situation for, let's say, until Friday at 5. And then after that, just choose to feel something else, because by that time you'll have processed what you needed to, and after that you can move on to healing and forgiving, which is so essential to being a happy and blissful and functioning person. Forgive yourself, forgive the period that you just allowed yourself to go through, and forgive the person or the situation that brought it upon your life, because that's when you begin to recognize that happened for a reason. Sometimes you'll figure out what the reason is, and other times it'll just be pain, which is the counterpoint or the counter-reference to pleasure, which is necessary, because if you didn't know what the sadness was, how would you know what happiness is, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's some good advice. So basically, allow yourself to experience and be in the emotion that's causing you to spiral for a little bit, but just give yourself a time limit.
Absolutely. I've said years ago I'm a fan of nervous breakdowns. I think I had one recently. I found out we were moving in a few months, and I cried all day, and I'm not ashamed to admit I was terrified, all this stuff, because I didn't anticipate we would be moving so soon. And so I gave myself until that night. It happened on a Monday, so I gave myself until Monday night, and on Tuesday I woke up and I felt better, and I realized that this grand adventure called life awaits, and it's a great tool to use, and I hope that people utilize it and master it, because it really does help.
Wow, that's a great tool. Thank you for sharing it, and for anybody watching or listening, there are so many more tools and resources in this book. Veronica, I'd love you to tell my listeners and my viewers how they can find your book, how they can get in touch with you, and whether they want to come for life coaching or whether they want to purchase your book.
Absolutely. My book is on sale in paperback on Amazon.com. Now, my last name is pronounced Cuyugan. It's tough. It's a Filipino last name. And so just search for Become Your Own Bliss. And I also have, the book has its own website, which the coaching program is going to be uploaded on, and that is becomeyourownbliss.com. There's a sign-in sheet. There's a sheet there where you can sign up for updates and essentially a monthly email newsletter that I put out. And also you can find me on Facebook. Just look for Veronica N. Cuyugan, and I'm reachable by everybody at any time.
Awesome.
I'm here to serve.
Thank you. And we'll also be sure to put your contact information up on the website and on our Facebook page as well. So if anybody would like to get in touch with you, they can just click through. And now that we live in that society where we just want to click and go.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for being on the show. Do we have any callers or anything, Robin? Does anybody have any questions for Veronica?
No.
Well, I think that they're missing out, and maybe we have some people watching, and if you have any questions after, I'm sure, Veronica, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if I have anybody emails me, I could just forward that question over to you. And
Absolutely.
Great. So we'll do that. And thank you so much for being on the show. Congratulations on your new book. Congratulations on the second book. And I wish you all the success that you can master. And we got to have you on the show again, definitely, when the second one comes out.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Veronica.
Wow, what an awesome person. I'm just thrilled. You know, I really love to hear that somebody's been through it, because that's the big question that I have, right, Robin, is like, who are you? Like, I don't know, that's just my mindset, but who are you to tell me or guide me on this journey if you've never walked in those shoes before? It can be a challenge, you know?
Right. And I agree that to some extent, if you're going to give the advice, you better know what you're talking about before giving it to me, because a lot of therapists will sit and give advice because that's what they were taught in school, but yet they've never been through the situation and don't know the real circumstances and the underlying emotions and issues that go with it. So they're just teaching because that's how they were taught, not because they've been through the same situation. So, yeah, I totally agree. If you don't know anything about it, you shouldn't be giving advice about it.
Yeah, it's definitely, and we are such an educated society, and also with the ascension process and the awakening process really happening at a fast rate and at almost across the boards. You know, people are either intuitively something just doesn't feel right, or you know, or they just know, they call you on your stuff. And so Veronica is definitely a person who has been there. She puts it into words eloquently and beautifully, and I think that her writing style is, not to compare, but I'm comparing, I think it's really similar to mine, where, you know, we've got background, we've got, look, this is why I know this works, and then we've got, this is some steps that you can take to make it work, and then it's well written so that you can easily follow along, and there's no reason why you can't find bliss in your life after reading this book. It's amazing.
Yeah, she did a beautiful job in the book, and you know, in my personal experience, one of my favorite all-time self-help people is Maya Angelou, and some of the, you know, just the quick sayings that she can come up with that make you just stop and go, wow.
Yep.
Some of those sayings are in Veronica's book. So, you know, I see her as an up-and-coming Maya Angelou.
Wow.
That's just my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I just think she's fabulous. I think she's amazing. So excited to have her here on the show. And, you know, some things that you can do if you'd like while following along the book. There's so many different ways that you can find bliss. I love her example of just being in the moment. Sometimes it is a challenge to get there, but sometimes it really is just as simple as finding a way to be in the moment.
Yeah, it is difficult when you feel like you're spiraling downward and don't know how to stop, put the brakes on. It is hard to try and stop and put yourself in reverse and go back to the moment and just be there and deal with it.
Yeah, and that's so cool. A lot of people think too, when we're be in the moment, means be in the moment. Like Veronica said, if you're spiraling and you're upset and emotional about something, allow yourself to be emotional, upset, and spiral in that moment. And then when your moment's passed, the time you've allotted, move on from it. Some other things that you can do is like wonderful breathing techniques. I know that there's some great tips that you can follow along with. Of course, hypnosis and NLP, they're fabulous tools to use. I'm always going to suggest hypnosis and NLP when it comes to shifting any type of mindset in our life. And Robin, I love that you incorporate her book with your readings now, that you're actually highlighting her suggestions and utilizing it as a tool.
Yes. A lot of people come to us as readers and think, one of their questions is, does he, you always get the love questions. Does he still love me? Are we going to stay together? A lot of people feel like failures when a marriage goes bad or when they lose a job or something like that. And that's where I'm incorporating some of what she says in her book in the readings is turn it around and look at it differently. It's not a failure. And we as readers say when one door closes, a new and better one opens.
Yeah.
So look at it that way. It's not a failure. You're just closing one chapter and reopening or opening a new one. Yeah. And what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. I love that. Many years ago, I didn't really understand that whole concept, and what I like to tell my clients, or what I like to use as a reference for myself even so, is, I had this perfect opportunity. I had young children. I was working as a hairdresser. Perfect opportunity to buy this beautiful house on a nice piece of land with a building that was a business zoned. And I was going to put my salon in there, and the seller of the house was very gracious. He let us move in ahead of time before closing, and get prepared and start doing construction on the building and all these wonderful things. And what happened was we hit this huge snag, and the house appraised for $50,000 less than what my husband at the time and I were approved for in the loan. And the owner of the house pretty much lost it and said, "Give me $50,000 or get out." And he ended up throwing us out and taking us to court and suing us for doing the work that he had said we could do. And at that time, my world, I was like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? It wasn't until a couple of years later, now, mind you, I had young children, that big piece of land abutted another big piece of land where eventually was purchased and used for people, to rehabilitate cult members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So spirit, universe, was protecting my children and myself from having to deal with that. And I didn't see that. Now, today's a little bit different when things are happening. Yeah, I love that. I never, ever used that technique before, where just allow yourself to experience that and then experience another emotion, or then, do what you have to do. And I think that had I had that tool back then, maybe I would have gone through the process a lot easier. But I'm certainly going to use that suggestion moving forward in my life. I know now that the outcome is in my highest and best interest, in my highest and best good. But sometimes it's nice to have a tool to use while you're going through it, right? Because, yeah, right. So, so I love it. And I love that you use it with your clients. And I love that, that she gives some nice, easy tools. Yeah. So I don't think I lost train of thought. I think I totally looped that one around. Okay. I'm like, hey, I was lost in that conversation for a while.
So, what are we doing next week? Because we're getting ready. We got 10 minutes left. So, what are we getting ready to do? Upcoming events.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so you and I are going to work on some pre-recording. So Robin and I will be doing some pre-recorded shows for you. I am in the process. I'm right smack dab in the middle of selling my house and making a new purchase and moving to North Carolina. So somewhere in there, we're not really sure of the exact date, but somewhere between now and the beginning of May, I will be not available to do live broadcast for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to pre-record some shows. Next week will be a live broadcast with Robin and I. We are going to do, we're having great success with the free psychic readings on air. So please feel free to send and email us. Robin has the email addresses. Do we have a couple of questions already for next week?
Not yet. We're keeping it advertised, and hopefully we can get some anxious people that want answers to some questions. And, anybody that has a shout out, give us one quick question that you want answered not live on air, and we'll get that for you.
Awesome. Yeah, so send them in to either Michelle Melio online at gmail.com or Robin Cragen Medium at yahoo.com, correct? Yep. So send them in. We've got room for a couple of questions. We had an astounding time a couple of weeks ago. I mean, last Monday, and next week we plan on doing the same. You can also call in if you would like. However, it's really nice to get the email questions. We can meditate on them. Robin and I discuss them. Plus, we give you some helpful tips to help you to learn how you can also create what it is that you'd like to find out, what your best plan of action is, what your best course of action is. So we will also be doing some pre-recorded interviews. We're going to be interviewing Samantha Banks, and Samantha her website is mysticsjourney.com, and she's amazing. She initiates you as a light worker. So if you're already working with the hierarchy of light and you're already a light worker, this is a great interview and a great person that you really want to connect with, because she just kind of really steps it up and takes you to the next level. And whether we're going to pre-record that or not, we're still not sure, but that's going to be the following week, and then we'll be back to our own psychic questions, the free psychic questions. So lots going on. Like I had said, Robin, you're working on some audio classes, or some classes that people can later watch on essential oils, and I'm working on the Mind Trip Academy, which Mind Trip Academy is going to be, you can become a certified life coach, you can become a certified hypnosis at home coach, you can become an NLP practitioner, you can become an NLP teacher, and you can also learn Reiki and other fun things. So, and I'm hoping that we can get your classes on the Mind Trip Academy as well, Robin, just so that there's an outlet for you. But your website is looking fantastic as well, and that's robincragenmedium.com.
Yes,
Awesome.
I did spend a lot of time on my website lately, and it totally looks different, and it's coming together pretty good. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I think it's just gorgeous. I love it. You're so talented, and it's nice to finally be able to spend time on this for yourself, because I know this is something that you've been wanting to create for a while. So you can visit Robin's website.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love. It's been a long time coming for me to do some of this stuff for myself rather than for other people. So it's been quite nice.
That's awesome. Sorry about that. I had an interruption from my daughter. They're doing work in the background for me. One of the wonderful things about working at home, which is what you're doing as well. So Robin's also available for readings. I want to let my clients know that I will do everything in my possible power and energy to get you in for a reading before I move. However, my schedule has proven that it can and will change at a moment's notice. So Robin has very graciously volunteered or offered to take your psychic readings, give you your psychic readings on my behalf while I'm in the middle of my move. And Robin is, if you're, a lot of people ask, is she any good? Well, I go to Robin for my reading. So that hopefully will answer your question.
Oh, thank you. And, it's been a couple of people who have been really disappointed that they couldn't get a reading with you, and I hesitate even offering because I don't solicit your clients to try and do readings. And, I strictly tell them I'm just your booking manager. There's nothing else I can do for you. But when this came up and I offered it so you didn't lose your clientele, it was one of those, well, do I or don't I? Am I stepping on your toes or whatever? But no, it's been really well received by everyone. And when I have brought it up to your clients, they're like, "Oh, you do them too?" And it's like, yes, because I haven't advertised it until lately. So I've kind of kept to myself and done my own thing for so long that when this came up, it's been really good. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Oh, no, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And I think that it's a great lesson for anybody, listening later on or even now, that it isn't about these are you're all people, you're all human beings, and everything happens in our life and in your life for a reason. And things are put in place, and it's only really when they're met with resistance that we really need to take a good, strong, hard look at ourselves and what the lesson is and how we can change that and find peace and joy. And I think that I'm just tickled pink, and I'm honored that I have somebody in you that I can really trust with that situation. And I think an honest, open line of communication is always the best way to start. It always has been my way of thinking, and sometimes that's not met very well. But people have, and who knows, maybe they're all going to love you and never want a reading with me again, and that's okay too, because that means that that's just where they're supposed to be going. You know what I mean? That's the direction. You wouldn't be available for them if spirit wasn't guiding them in that direction for one reason or another. So that's really the point I'm trying to make here, is that allow the things to occur as the doors open for you. And I think that was the big message that Veronica had too, was to recognize those doors and to step through them and allow them to be a part of your human experience, allow them to be a part of your growth, allow them to be a part of your bliss, right?
Absolutely. Bliss out.
Bliss
every
out.
chance we can get.
We got to find a hand signal for that, like bliss out, man. I'm trying to think of what we could do. This is you can't see me but on my YouTube followers and Google Plus, this is I am right now doing the sign language sign for B, right? So this is B. So maybe we can be like bliss out, like a little high five sign with a B. Bliss out. We got to come up with something.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's all good. So that is pretty much our show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the celestial background. We've got the celestial background this week, and Robin's beautiful picture in the middle. We are working on having Robin live as well. It's a slow process. We're taking it slow and steady. We're working our way through all the bumps, right?
All the bumps.
All of them. We're not going to miss a bump. Because if we miss a bump, we're not going to miss a bump. Because that way we get it all out of the way in the beginning.
Right.
We're just going to bliss out, man. That's all. So yeah, next week we'll have a different background for you. And again, free readings, free psychic readings, live on the air with Robin and Michelle next Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to tune in. Listen, be your comments in the video below. We'd love to have your feedback. We'd love to hear what you think of Veronica and her new book. And and share, share the love. Share the love.
I agree. Can't live without it.
Can't live without it. Well, Robin, thank you so much for your help, all of your wonderful help during this challenging process for me with the move and everything. Thank you for your volunteering and your help with the psychic readings. And thank you for being my co-host. It's been an absolute fun, pleasurable time with you, and I wish you have a wonderful week.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
No problem. And for you, the viewer and listener, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Michelle Melio, and you've been watching Mind Tripping with Michelle. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed week. Be well, and namaste.